The Senate Republicans finally made public their draft version of the bill to repeal and replace Obamacare. Joining me now to discuss it is Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. Senator, thanks for joining us as always. Will you support the legislation as currently written?
I'm actually going through it as currently written. I have a lot of questions still, a lot of things that we've talked about, so I've not made decisions. It's 142 pages of text, but there's a lot of things that are all piled into that text that we've got to get a chance to decipher. So put me down as a solid undecided. We're reading, reviewing, and I'm quite confident we will have quite a few suggestions to be able to make changes over the weekend on.
Do you see anything right off the bat that you want to make a suggestion about, something you're concerned about?
Well, there are several things that we're trying to be able to work through. I don't want to be able to go through all of them now here with you. I want to be able to work it through with our team. But I've already sat down and identified about 6 areas where I have problems and suggestions. None of those are showstoppers, but things that are obviously there are problems that we need to be able to fix before we get this into law.
Obviously, you're expecting also a report, an analysis from the Congressional Budget Office. What is an acceptable number in terms of how many fewer Americans will have insurance, either voluntarily or not? The House version, as you know, that initial health care plan was 23 million more uninsured by 2026. Is there a number you're looking at that I can accept this many but not this many?
Yeah, so it's hard to be able to tell because there's a lot of detail on that. So we're going to get 2 levels of it. We'll get a CBO score and then we'll get the detail. I hope we get all the detail at the time we get the score as well. I met with the director of CBO yesterday and reminded him that last year, literally a year ago, he said he would release the model for how they score health care bills. We're now a year later. He still hasn't released that model and won't tell us how they make decisions. That's very difficult. For instance, they determined 4 million people from the House plan would lose their health care insurance this year on Medicaid, but never explained how that would be when the House plan made no changes to Medicaid at all for 2017 or 18. So we still don't understand how they came to that decision, and they won't explain it. So it's difficult to be able to determine how they get to a number, and they won't release the model and their assumptions. So there's 2 levels there. Yes, I want to know their number, but yes, I want to know how they got to it, and so we can talk about how to be able to fix issues. You can't fix it if you don't know how they made that decision.
Speaking of Medicaid, more than 800,000 Oklahomans are on Medicaid. What do you say to those watching who are concerned about their coverage being cut or reduced under the plan?
So the current plan as it lays out, as I see it at this point in reading back through it, looks at about 8 years out and reduces the growth of it. There is no cut in Medicaid. In fact, there's a pretty dramatic increase in Medicaid over the next 8 years. And then 8 years from now, there's a reduction in the growth. So right now, Medicaid is growing at a much lower rate, around 2% or so. This actually increases Medicaid spending to about 4%, 3.5% to 4% a year. So it's a pretty dramatic increase in Medicaid from multiple years out and then slows down the growth at some point, hoping that it will catch up. As you know, Medicaid has been cut pretty dramatically over the last several years, and they've not had the opportunity to catch up. So if they catch up 8 years from now, that will make a difference to be able to try to catch up so it's equal or closer at least to what Medicare spending is.
So Senator Ted Cruz, one of the Republicans opposed to the current text as of now, he suggested that insurance companies should be able to offer more low-cost, so-called catastrophic plans so as to bring down the price of premiums. Is that a solution, do you think, though? More Americans with just these bare-bones insurance plans?
So he's not wrong in this, and let me tell you why. One of the issues, and I've raised it multiple times as well, if you go back to pre-Obamacare, small businesses could negotiate with their insurance company when rates started going up, and they could get a chance to negotiate to be able to bring rates down on it. That went away entirely. Now insurance companies cannot negotiate with small business owners anymore. And in the individual market, you are very limited in what you can choose. If you can't afford what's there, then you have no other option other than pay the fine that's come out. That's been a problem for millions of Americans. Literally, there's 6.5 million Americans that many of them used to have insurance that don't have it anymore. They just pay the fine because they can't afford it and don't have other options other than just to be able to pay the fine. They've got to have some other options. You want more young and healthy people into the insurance market. That helps protect it. The way that typically happened in the past was individuals were able to get cheaper policies that are younger, get more catastrophic policies.
All right, Senators, stay right there. We have lots more to talk about, including the latest on the Russia investigation. We'll be right back.
Great.
Lead and Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, who serves on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, I want to turn to the Russia investigation and obviously this conflict between President Trump and fired FBI Director Comey. The president today admitting that he neither made nor possesses any tapes of his conversations with Comey. It took him 41 days to clarify this after sending out that initial shocking tweet. When President Trump does things like this, makes wild claims and refuses to clarify and consumes all the oxygen in town, does it bother you at all?
It does seem a little unusual that he just randomly sent out a sarcastic email saying, Comey, better hope there aren't tapes. And everyone then said, wow, are there really tapes? We could ask the questions. It doesn't seem it doesn't seem like it would take long to be able to retweet right back out. Just kidding. There aren't any tapes, but for some reason it took over a month to be able to get it. So I don't know if it bothers me. It definitely consumes all the oxygen and distracts everybody from the priorities. But I'd like to be able to remain more clear on what we have and what we don't have. And let's move on.
In terms of the investigation, you're part of one of the investigations that President Trump is constantly attacking. The White House said this afternoon that President Trump thinks the 2016 election meddling probably was Russia. This comes after the morning when he seemed to question it by saying if Russia was doing this. And he also called it a Democratic hoax. As someone who serves on the committee, A, do you have any doubt of Russian meddling? And B, does it bother you when he accuses these investigations of being a hoax, of being a witch hunt, et cetera?
Yeah, it's certainly Russia. There's no question that we have. This is not only Russia doing this. We're very engaged, know very well that this is Russia doing it, but we also see Russia doing the exact same thing in multiple other countries. So this not only fits their MO, it also we have a clear trail that leads right back to Russia. The issue about whether it's a witch hunt, I would tell you the best thing that can happen right now for the president is to get all the facts out, deal with every one of the facts, let everyone get a chance to see it. Let's resolve all the issues, go through all the interviews, let the facts go where the facts need to go. Then that gets this resolved and we can move on. I think it's best for the president and for the presidency, for just the United States, period, to be able to get this issue resolved and so we can all move on. There are a lot of important issues that need to be resolved.
Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks.